What's up, Bobby? What's up, Andy? How you doing, guys? What's up, Brian? How you doing, buddy? Doing good, Brian. Just had to patch my feet up a little bit. Other than that, I'm good to go. Close on my microphone. Hey, Thomas. Hey, Luke. Hello, Liz. Hey, Randall, Betsy, Rodney Ortiz, Tracy Love, Susan, Diane, Doug, Melissa, Jennifer, Paul. Thanks to you all. Thank you all for joining. Diana, I just shared it on my page. If you want to go over to my timeline, if you want to go over there, you can share it from there. Should be able to anyway. No, Scott is not around. Hey, Shirley.
Live from the Man Cave Studios in South Parkersburg, West Virginia. This is Robert's Report, your leader in combat sports and rock music. And now, your host of Robert's Report, Craig Vegas Roberts.
Good evening and welcome everybody to Robert's Report. As soon as I get this, there we go. Now it's changing. Hey, there I am. Welcome everybody to this beautiful, cold and kind of gloomy Sunday evening, but it's all right. We're all alive. We're breathing, so that's the important thing. And I just want to welcome everybody. And as you can see, as part of the announcements, I said I was going to have a couple announcements this week. The first announcement, of course, with any kind of, hey Kim, how you doing? And Bobby Britton, of course, with every organized, we'll call it a business. It's not a business, but it's something I take serious. Is branding, of course. So I decided that we needed to go with the theme that I intended for this podcast to be. So if you like the new logo right here, we have got the theme all built into the logo. We've got rock music and we've got combat sports. And a big thank you to Fine Lines, Devin Gordon. She drew this up for me. I appreciate all her work that she did on it. I think it looks fantastic. And then, of course, I put a little twist on it with the animation there in the beginning. And, of course, change with the open screen. Did some changes to that. Of course, I wanted to give more of a recognition to the music that we use for our opening. Of course, Code Red Riot and Shallow Side both have been with me, and I do appreciate them. Expect new music in 2020 from both of those bands. Corky, the founder of Code Red Riot, he's actually out with Blue Man Group right now, so he's enjoying some things on the side. Just a couple other announcements here. Let's see here. I apologize. I was if you don't notice, we don't have a guest this week again, and I've got to be able to evolve my system or something or other to help either remind the guests or get a better confirmation of when they're going to do it. And I promise to fix that, and we will get the guests on here as advertised. Just want to pay most respect here. Of course, shocking news this evening here. One of basketball's greats, Kobe Bryant. I guess, TMZ News broke it first. Apparently was killed in a helicopter accident with his 13-year-old daughter, which is quite sad. He's definitely one of the best basketball players of all time, and he was actually he's actually a decent dude. And of course, we don't want to see that happen to anybody, and that really sucks. So that's I guess he had a personal helicopter that he went in between his house and the basketball Coliseum there, and that's what happened. We don't know the details yet. Maybe some of you, if you've heard more details on it, you're welcome to share it on the air. I have not heard any more. And then, of course, I'm a little late on this news because it was supposed to be on one of my other broadcasts, but we had Neil Peart, of course, of Rush. I'll be honest with you, I've not really been into Rush myself, but I definitely appreciate his mastery in drums. He was one of the best. If you have ever had conversations with anybody about the best drummers in the world, you couldn't get out of the conversation without mentioning Neil Peart. And of course, he's also joined some of the other music greats that have passed on here. Let's see. Let's see here. One other announcement. We'll go ahead and do it right now since we got a pretty good solid audience on here right now. But I have secured March 1st, we're going to have Mark Schechner of the band Kicks. If none of you have all seen Kicks, I highly recommend you go out and see them. They were at M3 in 2019, and they were absolutely one of our favorite bands. They usually kick off the weekend. They start this year on May 1st through the 3rd. If you haven't gotten tickets to that yet, good luck. Because they always go fast. We got our VIP tickets the first day, which gets the meet and greets, and we've got a lot of friends. It's always a great time there in Columbia, Maryland, and we can't wait to get up there to see that. And, of course, again, Mark Schechner. And one thing I didn't realize until reaching out to Kix's press person, PR guy, that Mark Schechner is actually a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So we're going to be able to cover not only some rock, but we'll also cover some MMA fighting as well. So what do you think about that? Win-win. That's right. Had my first Jiu-Jitsu tournament yesterday. I had 3 matches, two of them in gi and one of them no gi. I didn't do well on winning, but as I had mentioned on some of my posts, those that follow me, that I learned a bunch of things by doing it, and do better next time. You always want to be better tomorrow than what you were today, and as long as we do that, then I am happy. So let's get a little bit of discussion here. Actually, I forgot to. If you haven't, Mark Schechner, here's what Mark Schechner looks like. I was supposed to put that up there as we were talking about it, but that's what he looks like. And he also, and it's kind of funny, we were talking about Neil Peart, but he also has a band that is, let me see here. I have to look this up because it's very important, because he is awesome at he's awesome at bass, but he is also a fantastic singer, and he has his own Rush band called the Sundogs. Look them up on YouTube and watch Sundogs if you are a Rush fan, because it's if you close your eyes, he sounds just like Rush. I mean, the band sounds just like Rush. So make sure you go check them out. Okay. This week we celebrated 33 years of Bon Jovi. How many out there, I'm curious of my listeners, how many of you out there remember the original cover to the Slippery When Wet album? It was only out for a little while on record because it actually was taken down for content. Let's just call it that. It was, it wasn't. And these days, I don't think anybody would think anything of it, because all it was basically a set of Hooters and a top and a little bit of water, and you get the scene. But some reason or other, they didn't like it back then, and they took it out. But this past week we celebrated 33 years of Slippery When Wet. I remember the cassette was one of the clear cassettes. It was one of my favorite. I played it many, many, many times. But how many out there in listener land, Facebook land, how many of you all remember the thanks, Dad, for the congratulations. Appreciate it. How many of you all out there remember the Slippery When Wet album? Do you still listen to the songs? Speaking of things of the past, Johnny Solinger of the band Skid Row. He was the longest singer actually with the band. And of course, they did part ways not too long ago. But Johnny Solinger is about to go out and do his own 30-year reunion, basically with Skid Row songs. He's going to be doing all the ones that he did, and it's going to be the music of Skid Row, basically, is what it's going to be, and he's going to be singing it. So, I hope that he comes around here because he actually is very, very talented. He's a great singer. He was actually a pretty cool dude when he was in here in Parkersburg. Got to hang out with him for a little bit, and he was a pretty decent guy. And actually, I'm getting a shirt from him, too. I got a shirt coming. Let's see here. Johnny Solinger, Skid Row. How many remember Skid Row? Let's talk about Skid Row. My first Skid Row one was, of course, the one with the youth gone wild on it. And I remember Sebastian Bach. Man, that dude had vocals out of this world. I mean, just the notes that he hit was like an animal could, he's just an animal on as a front man. But what do y'all think about? We were thinking about all these bands going on tour this year, getting back together. We've got, of course, like I mentioned, Skid Row. Let's see here, I got to turn my phone off. But Johnny Solinger is going to be doing some of the music. So what do you all think about Johnny Solinger going out and doing Skid Row music? You think it's, he shouldn't be doing it? Or you think, hell yeah, let's hear some Johnny Solinger versions of Skid Row? Put your comments up there. Let's see. Johnny Lawrence, ripped up shirt with wet boobies. There you go. That's the one. Bobby Britton, Tipper Gore was not a fan of that album cover. LOL. Yep, that's true. Johnny, I like what Blackie Lawless said about Tipper and the other Washington wives. I missed that one. I'll have to go back and check that out. I'm not real sure what that was. Something else has popped up on Facebook here just recently. I don't know if any of you all saw it, and I was trying to get a sample of it before the show started so I could bring it up. There is let me see if I can show. Oh yes, I can. Okay, give me just a second here. I have to show you this because this is crazy. I didn't think I could do this, but my software will let me do it. Okay, bring it here. Whoop. Start over. Okay, copy the URL. Okay. All right, now I just got to get this, turn this on. I got to get to click, preview, and watch this. This is just going to be all right, you ready? Voila. Well, the only thing we're missing is the sound. There we go. That is 5-year-old He goes by Caleb H on YouTube. He is a huge Slipknot fan, of course. He went to one of the Slipknot concerts, and Jay Weinberg noticed him down there doing air drums and looked him up, basically, and invited him to come on stage and go backstage with them. And he enjoyed the whole entire show from backstage. Then they took him out at the end, and he got to help Jay Weinberg throw out the drumsticks. Those of you that have not seen Jay Weinberg, okay, let's back up for a little bit. Joey Jordison, of course, was the original Slipknot drummer. Johnny Lawrence, I'm sure you remember this, but he was the original Slipknot drummer, which he was known as the fastest foot person, whatever you want to call that, kick drum. He was supposed to be as the fastest kick drum. I tell you what, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that Jay Weinberg is a bigger animal than Jay Jordison ever was. If you get a chance, go in and watch some of Jay Weinberg's videos. He's quite the beast behind the skins. And let's see here. Moving right along, of course, Caleb, the drummer. Wasp, live in the Raw. Oh, okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Ted, yes. Actually, I wouldn't mind. Maybe he'll have a show out in Vegas or something or other, Ted. Maybe when we're out there. Who knows? And Dad says Skid Row was the nicest. Yes, they were. They did very good when they were here in Parkersburg. It's just too bad it was under not so good circumstances. For those of you just joined, of course, you've seen me advertising again that we were going to have a guest tonight, and unfortunately something happened again this week, so I'll have to either try to reschedule it, get with them, see what's going on, but I promise to do a better job at confirming these things further out than the day before or day of, and as a lot of people say, you must evolve or you'll die, and that's what we'll do. We'll evolve. We'll get through this. We'll make it out all right. We'll get our guests. Big news this the past 2 weeks since my last podcast too is the Scorpions. Of course, the news hit that the Scorpions were going to be out on tour with Whitesnake. That is a great lineup just by itself. So I thought, cool. Then I looked it up, and the dates were all overseas. So I was like, crap. Every time my wife and I had a chance to see the Scorpions, I want to say we've never had the chance. Something always come up. Either they've been in Columbus and we've been in Vegas. We've been here, they've been in Vegas, they've been somewhere else, and we've been on some, whatever. Well, finally, we pulled the trigger, and they just announced recently that they're doing a residency in Vegas during UFC Fight Week. And that just happens to be my favorite time of the year in Vegas is Fight Week, which is the week of July the 4th. They're going to be doing a residency, Scorpions and Queensryche. The current version is Queensryche, of course. July 4th through the 25th. They do it the 4th, the 8th, 16th, as it goes. So that's pretty cool. I can't wait. Of course, we bought tickets to go to that, and we will review as it happens. One thing for sure with Vegas, they've delivered over the past couple years here. We saw Aerosmith last year. Oh, which reminds me, Joey Kramer. How many of y'all have remembered, or how many of y'all heard this story? Oh my God, 50 years with the band Aerosmith. 50 years with Aerosmith, and he now has to do he has to try out for the band again to get in. The drummer for Aerosmith, something or other, he had to leave for some kind of medical reasons. He had to take a break, and came back, and everybody in the band said, "Sorry, if you want back in, you got to try out." So that is where they're at now. Not sure where that's going to go legally, but they're still doing the residency. They're starting another round of them in 2020. It's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. Watch the news on that one. I will. I'll be watching it with you. So let's skip over to a little bit of MMA news. We hadn't talked, but March 28th, how many of y'all heard that there, and I don't know how many of my listeners, and I apologize if you're not into MMA, but I'm sure there are a lot, because MMA and rock music sort of go together, in my opinion. I mean, it's headbanging type of activity. So, but March 28th in Columbus, Ohio, they're hosting a fight night. And I don't forget how many years it's been since they've been there, but the tickets go on sale for that on January the 31st. January 31st for Fight Night in Columbus. There is a huge buzz going around about this, so I do know that there's a lot of people out there interested in that. And if you have not been to a UFC fight, do it. The electricity in the air, it's kind of like a NASCAR race. A NASCAR race is 100 times different going to the race rather than watching it on TV. And the same thing goes with a UFC or any MMA fight. It's quite the atmosphere. You've got a little booth set up. Usually they'll have a punching bag thing where you punch and see how much pressure, who gets the hardest. They got a place where you can get pictures with the belt. Usually all kinds of other different things. Anyway, I'm not going to go completely into that, but March 28th, and the tickets go on sale January 31st. And if you are a member of I don't want to promote it, but if you are a member of the UFC Fight Club, which I am, they go on sale on January 28th. And usually the tickets, if you want to, I know for Fight Week, the nosebleeds usually start somewhere around in the $200 range. They've got a few that are, of course, there's a whole bunch of them more. They go up from 200, but that's one of the championship fights. Now, for the fight night ones, they run a little less, and we do intend on going to that. And if you ask around, there's a lot of people that have anticipation that are going to go to that. Ngannou is going to be fighting on Francis Ngannou is going to be fighting on that, which they when they were comparing him with when he first got in the UFC, that he punches as hard as a Volkswagen can run into something. So if he hits you, he's kind of like the Russian in Rocky IV. If he dies, he dies. Anyway, that's my impression. On to, and then of course, a couple weeks ago we had our party here for, actually it was last week. We had Connor and Cowboy. That was a fairly quick fight. Cowboy got beat up basically by Conor McGregor's shoulder. He, if you haven't seen it yet, go. I'm sure the previews are out there. I mean, not the previews, but the after fight shows, the replays. There you go. The replays are out there. Go watch it. It was Conor is looking very good at 170 pounds. I expect him to stay there and probably dominate that. Who knows who he's going to fight next? You got Jorge Masvidal out there. You still got which Jorge doesn't have an opponent right now. And then of course you've got Khabib fighting Tony Ferguson here pretty soon in April 18th, I believe. And that might be the next fighter for Conor McGregor. What do y'all think about who would you all like to see if you're out there if you're a fan of MMA and UFC? Who would you like to see Conor fight next? Would you like to see him fight Jorge Masvidal next? Would you like to see the trilogy for Nate Diaz, or would you like to see him do Khabib or Tony Ferguson? Either one of those, whoever wins that, or somebody else. Who would you like to see Conor McGregor fight next? Let's see here. And also during that fight, of course, they had Holly Holm, Raquel Pennington, Clinic over, let's see, Clinic, I'm sorry, not Clinic. God, I can't even read my own writing. Elenick was over Maurice Green, and Ferrari was over Pettis during that fight. And those were all pretty good fights. Now we have a huge one coming up here pretty soon, which I just put it up on the screen there. These are both very important bouts. You got Jones versus Reyes and Shevchenko against Shukagian. And this Jones and Reyes fight has got me very interested in this fight because Reyes is basically 12-0 right now. And, of course, Jones hasn't been beaten yet. He is 12-0. Jones is 25-1. Dominic Reyes has a very close style of fighting that Jones has. He's more on the ground game, more in the technical fighting sort of style. So I'm really looking forward to this fight. What do you all think about that fight? Shevchenko, she's a beast. Of course, I don't expect that to last past the second round. I was telling my wife the other night the way she prepares for her and her sister, they're Muay Thai fighters, and they kick trees to warm up. So imagine what that does to the legs. Last night there was a fight night with Curtis Blades and Junior Dos Santos. Curtis Blades won that. That is a part of the heavyweight division. The heavyweights are getting very crowded on top right now. We've got Curtis Blades, of course. We got Francis Ngannou. We have got, of course, Cormier is still kind of hanging on out there. You got Stipe Miocic that's hanging out there. And who knows if Brock Lesnar will make another appearance. I don't know. To be honest with you, I hope he doesn't, because I think that's a circus show with Brock Lesnar. It always turns into a WWE type of show after the fact. But anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at. That's pretty much all I have on announcements and everything. So how's everybody doing out there? What would you all like to talk about? Is there anything in the news that you'd like to talk about? Jeff Totten, I see you popped on there. I don't know if you're still hanging out there, but had a very successful high school football awards ceremony here a couple weeks ago at the Parkersburg Arts Center. Yeah, haven't seen that yet. Go on Jeff Totten's page, Move to Go, and watch it. It's out there. The production was all done by basically interns from Jeff's internship type of program that he has for production. And it was all done by junior, senior high school students. Go out and look at it. It's quite amazing. All right, so nobody's talking out there. What's going on? What? Somebody look out their window or something or other and tell me what's going on. What else is going on? Let's see. Oh yeah. We will be doing here pretty soon. I will have some shirts as well with the new logo. We're gonna get some of those. So those of you out there that like to support Robert's Report and what we do, we will have those available. And I think that is about it, guys. Hopefully we'll get our guests to reschedule. I did talk to Hugo's PR manager. She said that she's supposed to get back with me. She's supposed to find out how to reschedule it. We'll try to get that rescheduled. Bill Chavis hasn't gotten back with me. I don't know what happened there. He's usually on top of everything. And over there at High Volume Records, he has some. Actually, I've got something here I can kind of show you on that. Over at High Volume Records, they have a couple bands. Every Mother's Nightmare, that's going to be touring overseas actually this year. I watch for them. Asphalt Valentine is another one of his bands. This is how bands get started. You know, you don't hear about them, and then all of a sudden they pop up on the charts, and that's how we get new music, right? Actually, I'll give you a little clip here of Every Mother's Nightmare.
Daddy taught me to live off the land, and everything I got I built with these two hands. And I worked from Mississippi to the hills of Tennessee, from the West Virginia coal mines and every part in between. You know what I mean? Around here we take things day by day. To our God we pray. It's just a Southern way.
So there you have it. Every Mother's Nightmare. Look them up on YouTube, their page. They're with High Volume Music, and it's with Bill Chavis. Actually, I did find some more things here that I wanted to go over. On January 18th, there was a Sum 41 concert over in Paris. And apparently the concert got canceled because of an explosion. And the question I have is this. How do you all feel about the security that they have at some of the concerts now? I appreciate what they're doing when it comes to the metal detectors and everything. Do you think that they're doing enough? Or do you think they're doing too much? I don't know. I think, in my opinion, I think they're doing okay. Because they seem to be kind of complacent, in my opinion, when they're putting people through. That's just my honest opinion. It's not that you should have maybe just a step down version of the TSA for airports, I guess, without the body search thing. I mean, we live in a different environment. I know it sucks, but when you got things like, explosions going off during concerts, that's not cool. But I missed some other announcements here. Some more new music coming out in 2020. And there's a crap ton. I don't promote. I don't want to. I'm not sponsored by Loudwire or anything, but Loudwire is a great place to go for rock news. That's where I get some of my information from. So go in there if you want to know a complete list of new music that's coming out in 2020. Go on there. But Corey Taylor is coming out with a solo album, which is pretty cool. Breaking Benjamin's coming out with a new album. Avenged Sevenfold. How many out there? Yeah, there's always a debate on who's the best guitarist, or top 5, or who's the best guitarist in the world. And of course, arguably Eddie Van Halen is supposed to be the best rock guitarist in the world. You never hear Sinister Gates hardly at all. If you haven't seen Sinister Gates play, you really ought to go on YouTube and check him out as well. He comes from some pretty deep roots of music. His dad was also a guitarist. He actually, on their first album, the very first album that came out, I'm sorry, not their first album, actually their second album that came out, Beast of Harlot, that song was on it. He does a song with his dad on there. But go check out Sinister Gates. Of course, Deftones have a new album coming out. Five Finger Death Punch has a new album coming out. They've released a couple songs on it I like a lot. You got Foo Fighters, and then you got Green Day. So how long do you think it's going to be before the Super Bowl has somebody, a rock? I mean, the closest thing we've had rock music on Super Bowl has been Aerosmith many, many years ago, and it was with Britney Spears, NSYNC, and I forget who else was with them. But we really need, Johnny Five. That's another good one, Thomas. But we really need to get some rock music at or metal. We need some metal for the Super Bowl. There again, you got MMA, rock music. You got football, we need some rock music. I know we have the Hank Williams Jr. song used to be for Monday Night Football, but we need, us rockers and metal enthusiasts, need some rock music for the Super Bowl performance. It just seems like they're being left out in the cold. I know you got the Metal Gods Awards out there, but when it comes to the when it comes to the Super Bowl and actually any of the other awards shows, you got Imagine Dragons, which I admit I like Imagine Dragons. You've got Panic at the Disco and Matchbox 20. Different Green Day, which Green Day's awesome. But you leave out ones like Avenged Sevenfold. Ghost got recognition a couple years ago. They got a couple Grammy nominations for Best Performance, which I do highly recommend going and seeing when they come back out. They won't be out in 2020. They're making new music, and they're supposed to, I guess they're supposed to I think the Cardinal is supposed to get promoted or something, or I don't know. I don't know what whatever their storyline's going, but they're supposed to be changing their storyline up. They're not touring in 2020. They'll be back out in 2021. So I look forward to that. If you haven't seen Ghost, there's tons of footage of them out on YouTube as well to go check out. I want to give a shout out to Mark Gus Scott. A couple weeks ago was on the show, and he took time out. He was, of course, the drummer of Trickster, and he was very gracious to give me time for an interview. If you haven't seen that yet, the video is out on the Roberts Report page in their videos, and along with a bunch of other past podcasts from the very beginning. If you want a comedy show, there's if you go back to the very first podcast that whenever Scott Martin was doing this with me. Oh boy, I think I've evolved a little bit. At least I hope I've evolved a little bit. But that was a fun time. I am in the process of uploading all of the videos, and any of the new videos that come out are going over onto YouTube. So if you want to go on to YouTube as well, you can go on there and look at them. You can share them to your friends, and I encourage you to share the page to your friends as well. I promise you that this podcast is going to grow. This is we're evolving out of the do anything for everybody and local and politics and this and that. We are focused on rock music and combat sports now. That is going to be the theme, and it's not going to be just like this tonight. The only reason why I'm doing it this way tonight was I've had 2 weeks without a podcast, and the show must go on whether we've got a guest or not. So here we are. We don't have a guest, but I'm your guest tonight. Let's see. Let's see. Foo Fighters should do the Super Bowl. That would be a good one, Thomas. They are a good. Everybody kind of likes the Foo Fighters. Actually, I tell you, somebody else that could pull it off real well now is the new version of, and I call it the new version, and it's acceptable because unfortunately Scott Weiland is dead. But the new version of Stone Temple Pilots, that band is incredible. And I think I'd mentioned a few podcasts ago that Stone Temple Pilots are coming out with new music as well. I really look forward to that. We got to see them at Rock on the Range 2 or 3 years ago. And their new lead singer is phenomenal. It's in my opinion, it's equal to Arnel Pinata with Journey. The vocal, the energy, everything. I mean, if there was a spawn of Scott Weiland, it would be him. Thoughts on the UFC on ESPN Plus last night? Yes. Gary, I did watch that. I thought that. Let's see here. I thought let me bring that up here real quick, so I can give my full attention to it. Let's see. The first fight was okay. Jamal Hill and Daku, I can't pronounce his last name. I will butcher it, so I'm not even going to try. But that Angela Hill in the women's strawweight, Gary, what did you think about her? She is a machine in the strawweights, and look, she's 11-7. Her opponent was 10-4, and man, she got when she got full mount on Hannah Cyphers, she just ripped her open. And let's see, you had Alex Perez, who is listening tonight as we drive. Agree on STP. Hey, that's a good one. Yeah, who is driving and listening? Jordan Espinosa, Alex Perez. That was another one that good. That was a good technical fight, jiu-jitsu. Also, the Rafael dos Santos Rafael dos Santos and Chiesa fight. That was another technical fight. Of course, being in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I love to watch. It's a lot more fun in my, for me anyway, to see the technical. Let's see. Hill is great when she can dictate the fight. She has a hard time when she's against better grapplers. Gotcha. She, yeah, I do agree with that, Gary. She had a good night last night. Of course, like you say though, I do think she was the better grappler between the two. So that was, like a. But Rafael dos Santos, what did you think about that one, Gary? And Chiesa, his body length is going to be trouble for others in welterweight. I think, or he could make it a good fight. Let's just put it that way, because his body type just pretty much smothered DeSantos. And I realize that DeSantos is getting a little older, but he's still quite the grappler as you've seen. And then of course the main event mentioned there earlier, Curtis Blades is also a machine. I'm not sure how well he would stack up against Stipe, but he looked pretty good. What do you think, or what's anybody else think out there about that fight? Curtis Blades. Let's put Curtis Blades up against Stipe Miocic. Miocic has grenades of his own that he can put you out in an instant. So, and, what do you think? Or do you think that? Who do you think is going to fight Miocic next? Let's put that out there as well. Let's see here. And then of course, Gary, I don't know if you were. Let's see. Blades was a beast last night, but you're right about him having troubles with Stipe. Yeah, RDA and Michael had a point where they were 50-50, but they didn't seem to know the heel hooks. No, I kind of caught that as well. They had a little. There was a couple times that they could have put them down, but it's like they had trouble getting it. And to be honest with you, I think that really RDA, I think. I don't know. He's still a threat though when it comes to jiu-jitsu. I still think he's a top five grappler. Chiesa, I think is also top 5 grappler. So I think that was a good matchup. Now let's back up, Gary, since you're on here, since we're talking here about MMA. The Conor and Cowboy fight. Let's just say that was only put together for money for sure, because I think everybody pretty much knew that there was no chance in hell that Conor was going to match up with somebody on his first fight back that he didn't know that he could beat. And P.S. How about those shoulder strikes? Those, that's that you don't generally see somebody being put out by shoulder strikes like that. But what do you think, Gary? Who do you think Conor's going to fight next? Do you think it's going to be him and Khabib? You think he'll hold off for Khabib? Or you think he'll go for Nate Diaz? I personally would like to see him at least get one more fight in. Like maybe, I tell you, I don't know if anybody out there has been to UFC Fight Week, but that would be the perfect opportunity to put together a Jorge Masvidal versus Conor McGregor fight. BMF rematch, or not rematch, but a BMF match on UFC Fight Week, how many would pay to see that? I definitely would pay to see it. And yep, there you go, Masvidal, exactly. I would definitely be there. I hope this year that that I don't know if, again, UFC Fight Week, if you haven't had a chance to go to it, if you are an MMA fight or MMA fan, go do it. They have things such as they usually have the Ultimate Fighter finale there, which I haven't heard much news on the Ultimate Fighter here lately. I'm not even sure they're even doing it now. But they usually have the finale that week. They also have a huge amateur and pro jiu-jitsu tournament that week. They've had 5K runs before where you get to run with the fighters, and Dana White even runs in it as well, which is cool because you get to kind of hang out with the fighters while you're running a 5K. A couple years ago, they also had a thing at a competition at their gym. We'll be in Columbus. Great, Gary. Maybe we can meet up face to face. But it's a fighters week, and there was even one year that we were in. Year before last, Missy and I were able to do a fan thing where we got chosen. I entered this. It was a fluke thing. I entered this contest. It was online. If you ever see anything put out by the UFC that says enter it, go and enter it, because people do win. I won. We won. We got to spend basically 2 days. We got front row seats, backstage passes for the press conference, which was awesome. We got to meet Daniel Cormier, Dana White. We saw Joe Rogan, Francis Ngannou. Got to get our picture in the octagon with Dana White, which was great. And then the next day, we went downtown for the Fighter Expo and got to meet more fighters. Like, let's see, we met Curtis Blades, we met Chris Weidman, Shevchenko. The list goes on and on and on. It's why it's the greatest sport in the world, man. They don't treat you like you go to some of the concerts, which that's another topic. But you go to other sporting events, baseball, football, they don't want to have anything to do with you. But if you see a fighter, an MMA fighter out, a UFC fighter out, if you see them out and you ask to take a picture with them, 99% of them will stop and take a picture with you and talk to you. And that's another reason why I don't mind spending my money to buy their fights and go see them. Now, let's back up. It just kind of brought up a point. I was talking to somebody the other day about groups, rock groups, and large rock groups. And like, Five Finger Death Punch, Metallica, Korn, and whoever else. And it seems like, there's a lot of them that once they become big, and I realize they have to have them time or whatever. They don't make the money to be jerks. That is correct. They don't. But there's been a couple bands over the past few years that, I don't know, kind of become jerks. They're not big enough to be jerks yet, but they are jerks, become jerks, and it kind of turned me off to them. And I'm not going to bring the names up on here. You talk to me individual, I might tell you, maybe, I don't know, but you get, in my opinion, if my mom and dad have always said you're never too big to get knocked back down. people put you there by spending money, hard-earned money, to put you there. And you know, we've had conversations with Big Rick on here before as well, with you know, all these meet and greet things. You know, people got to make their money. Rock stars got to make their money. But man, $750 for a meet and greet. I cannot think of anybody right off the top of my head right now that I would pay $750 to meet. Some of you do, and some of you will. Great, more power to you. You got money to burn, but there's no way that I'm going to pay $750 to meet anybody. But that's, let's see, who was that? Actually, that was the Scorpions. That was just for the meet and greet. You had to pay $750 for the meet and greet, and then you still had to buy the ticket, which it was another, you know, I think we paid $200 a ticket, which in Vegas, $200 for any ticket's not too awful bad, really, considering we're going to see Bruno Mars for, I don't know, 700 and something. Something like that. So, but you don't get put there by chance. You get put there because people buy tickets and put you there. So if there are any bands out there, don't be jerks, man. It's just it's not good for your not good for your future. You will die eventually in the fog if you don't pay attention to your fans. Good example right there, like I showed us a little bit ago with, you know, Slipknot. You know, one of the biggest metal bands in the world, but they noticed a little boy, and I love that. And same thing happens with, you know, Five Finger Death Punch. They do a lot for our military. They do a lot for kids. Do a lot for kids with cancer. Do a lot for adults with cancer. You know, not even with rock music. If you want to talk, you know, Garth Brooks, the most famous current country artist out there, and has the time to come over and notice a person holding up a cancer sign during one of his, you know, just don't be jerks. And, you know, and people will attract to you more than being the untouchable person. Well, unless somebody else has anything else out there to talk about this evening, I'm going to cut this a little short this evening. I do appreciate everybody tuning in, and like I said, I will do my best to get all the interviews rescheduled. I have to get with the PR people, and actually I'm working on one other one, but I'm way too far away to give an announcement. But we do have Mark Schechner coming up on March 1st. I forgot to mention that it will actually be in the afternoon on a Sunday, because that was the only time I could get it scheduled. And I didn't mind doing it for that, because it's actually going to be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So those of you that are on the West Coast, it'll be 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So, thank you everybody for tuning in, and I do hope that you'll tune in again next week, when we will have. Actually, let me check my schedule here real quick. I'm saying a lot tonight. Let's see here. I've got. Let's see. Next week. Oh, actually, next week we are off. I will not have podcast on the Sunday next week. So our next one will be on February. I will see you all on February the 9th. And this will be after the John Jones and Ray's fight. Everybody go out there and watch it. and hopefully we can discuss it here on the show. Thanks again, everybody, for sticking around with me. You all have a great Sunday evening, and again, I'll see you here in a couple weeks.
And I've been thinking that maybe it's time to let 'em know that we're alive. Everybody, lift your hands to the sky. If you feel them, let them know that really will
Peace out, everybody. Have a great week, and I'll see you here in a couple weeks. Later.